Morning, everybody. I've nipped in before the rest of the guys. We're all a bit bleary-eyed to tell you about a competition. We have a wicked, wicked show for you today. But as well as all the great content we have, you have an opportunity to win this. Okay, we're giving away on this episode 3 copies of Deadzone. So it's the board game itself. Let me show you the picture. There it is in all its glory. Ignore the terrain for a second, okay? We're giving away 3 copies of that on this episode. To be in with a chance of winning, all you have to do is comment on this show here on beastsofwar.com or on YouTube, on our YouTube channel on this show, or on our Facebook page. So hit a thumbs up on YouTube and post a comment. On Facebook, hit a like and post a comment, or come on over to Beasts of War, set up a free account and post a comment. The comment, though, I'm not just accepting any comment, okay? I want you to head on over to the Warpath 2 Kickstarter, have a browse around, and then make your comment about which race you would choose and why. And we're going to be picking 3 winners, a YouTube winner, a Facebook winner, and a Beasts of War winner. In fact, if you did all 3, you could triple your chances of winning. Tomorrow morning, we're giving away 1 copy of the board game and an additional terrain set to 1 lucky backstager. And that's on the XLBS version of this show that's only available to backstagers at beastsofwar.com. Right, I need to go and get these other guys out of bed so we can get this show on the road.
Flames of War brings you the battles of World War II in epic 15mm scale. Go to the hub on beastsofwar.com to find news, tactics, and tutorials about the game. Progress comes to a world of magic as science and the arcane combine to make marvels. Meet steampunk inventors and orc mystics at the Volsung hub on beastsofwar.com.
Good morning and welcome to the Weekender!
Why so excited?
Because we have...
Me and him have got a lot to be excited about.
We have a ton to be excited about. Okay, right. In this episode, we're going to be talking about tons. We're going to kick off with the news. The what's been happening in gaming section. A little bit later on, we're going to be talking about the Warpath Kickstarter. We've got some cool stuff to show you on that. We have Brian from Anarchy Models, the stencil master extraordinaire. And we've got a great conversation coming up where we're going to be talking about airbrushing. So what are your next steps if you've just got into airbrushing or you're just about to get into airbrushing?
Yeah.
What steps should you take?
And on that Warpath, we have someone from Mantic over,
We do indeed. We have Stuart from Mantic, who's going to give us the lowdown on all of that. And then on the topic of Kickstarters, we have a couple of interesting Kickstarters we're going to talk about at the end of the show.
Cool.
And if you're a backstager and you're into your Cold War and you can get here, you're going to wet yourself. Okay, kicking off. Team Yankee, baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got some more stuff coming out for Team Yankee in the news.
It was on the website. Let me just bring up a picture for you.
We are starting to learn more and more about the game now. Okay, now from what I can gather, having talked to some of the guys involved, this is not Flames of War.
No, this isn't.
This is an utterly new rule set, okay? So basically, what has happened is, the way it was put to me, was that the design team in Battlefront said, look, when you go into the 80s, warfare is going to completely change, okay? So it's a very different beast, warfare now. After what was learned in Vietnam, the introduction of helicopters and stuff like that, warfare changed so quickly after that. So could they have retrofitted Flames of War to work with that? I'm sure they could have.
Probably, yeah.
But what they wanted to do was they wanted to have the opportunity to say, well, actually, let's reimagine the whole thing from scratch.
Yeah, which is good because Flames of War has been around for quite a while now. I'm assuming they've learned lots of different things that they maybe want to try differently.
Yeah. So they approached the whole thing of, if we could create the perfect war rule set again, how would we do that based on everything we have learned over the last 15 years or whatever, how long they've been doing it? and the result of that is Team Yankee.
Yeah, and
So
we've
this
got
this bad boy here.
we've got some releases and stuff that have been getting cards and things flashed up on the website.
Yeah, so on that one, you can see these are some of the Soviet things. So we have the Motor Rifle Battalion and the Motor Rifle Company. John, there's so much hardware that we have to look forward to in this. Lloyd, there's helicopters coming, there's everything coming. And one of the key things they've done is they've moved to stat cards.
Yeah, which is different. Which I always liked stat cards.
I'm a big fan of stat cards. What stat cards should give them is the flexibility to push releases out quickly.
Because you have your core rules in the Team Yankee book.
Yeah.
And then you just say, well, we need a new tank battalion or something. They just go, oh, we just make the card out and we chuck it out there.
Which makes a lot of sense considering the scale of the amount of vehicles and aircraft and stuff that could be opened up to them.
And the scale of combatants as well. Because remember, we're only looking at the US versus the Soviets at the moment. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, Team Yankee is World War III. Okay? So this is, because if you tried to replicate the Cold War, basically you would just be doing patrols that operate side by side and don't shoot at each other. But this is Cold War gone hot. Okay? It takes place all over Europe. Okay, so for me personally, I'm interested in the pushing into Eastern Europe. I'm going to be talking more about that on backstage because I've been torturing him with a project that we're going to look into. But China could get into this. Britain could get into this. There's states, Israel.
North Korea.
But did North Korea like a proper problem during the Cold War?
Yeah, all these places were thereabouts. It's
the Cold War was centered on the spread of communism.
Yes.
And the Western world trying to stop the spread of communism.
I understand what the Cold War was. Yes.
So you had the Korean War, you had the Vietnam War, and all that.
Yeah.
But those problem nations would have went on board with Russia had anything happened.
Yeah. It's it is interesting, but this stat card thing, just from what I can gather, this just really opens it up for them. They can start to push out units and things like that. At a fast rate. We have some other stat cards as well, don't we?
We have some US stuff.
Okay, so here we can see the M113, the Rhino.
The American Rhino.
Yeah, so it's like an amphibious special rule.
Yep. So what you have, these two cards, is you have the M113 Transport. That's its own stat card. But beside it, you have the M113 Mech Combat Team, which is the actual formation card. So they're doing units and formations on these cards and giving you the special rules for them.
What does that mean then? You can field that tank in a formation, but field it on its own.
It has its own unique stats.
Yeah.
As a vehicle.
Yeah.
But the entire team have their own stats and have their own.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how that's going to work. If you attack the team,
you're obviously going to have to either shoot at the vehicle or shoot at the infantry.
Yeah.
So then you have your individual stat cards for it. But as a keeping simplicity, you know exactly what units you have.
Yeah. We're going to find out soon.
Yeah.
Because the rule book is not far away.
Can we go back to the tank one?
Yeah, I'm hoping we can get a little bit of access to the rule book. But what about this one, John?
Look at the Abrams.
Yeah.
Notes, advanced stabilizer, and laser rangefinders.
Are these like the versus off against two big heavy hitter tanks?
These are the two big heavy hitters, the T-72 and the Abrams. But
so
I like how
T-72 versus Abrams.
You can see the quality between the two tanks straight away because below its name banner it says on the T-72 tank unit infrared. On the Abrams one it says tank unit chop armor thermal imaging. So it's got a lot more kit behind it, a lot more fancy tech in there.
It's I think it's great because this is only scratching the surface, Lloyd. Right? You have the A10s.
Yes,
should make it in,
yep.
Which are really, really popular. I always thought I was like one of the weirdest little people who liked the A10. But as soon as you put it up there, everyone's like, "Yeah, the A10 looks amazing." I'm like, "Oh, cool, yeah."
Well, we have the Apache, I believe, makes it in there,
which is iconic again.
And the Hind.
And the Hind.
And the Hind is Oh,
Russia's flying tank.
yeah. So
But is the Rambo copter, or is it another amazing looking?
no, the Rambo chopper, was that not the Apache that was in one of the Rambo movies? I can't remember, but you're going to find out.
No,
you know.
the Apache's the American helicopter.
Yeah. Oh, was it? It was a big Soviet one. It may well have been a
Might have
Hind.
been a Hind.
I don't know. I can't remember. I can't remember Rambo at all.
Lucky
It-
you.
It's coming. It's coming. You know, it's we're looking at late November for the release of this, which just so happens.
What's that?
If you're interested, and if we get the numbers, you might want to join backstage right now, because tomorrow morning I'm going to be announcing we are going to do one more boot camp this year. I had thought we weren't going to do any more boot camps this year and just start to pick them out, because I only want to do boot camps for the most interesting of things. Okay?
And new things tend to be quite interesting, don't they?
They do.
Yeah.
So if you're not doing anything on the 27th of November and you fancy spending a weekend with Beasts of War and some of the staff from Battlefront to get into Team Yankee, the ticket price will include your accommodation, it'll include your food, and it's going to include your starter army. Yeah, you might want to join backstage tomorrow, because I'm going to be putting it up on a first come first serve basis.
And it'll be cold as well for Cold War.
Yeah, it will be
freezing.
cool. It will be cool. I'm going to be talking a lot more about that tomorrow on the XLBS version of this show. As with all of our events and things like that, it's going to backstagers first. If you fancied Cold War Goes Hot and you wanted what I'm going to very modestly say will probably be the Carlsberg of getting into this game. Beasts of War don't do getting into games, but if they did, it would probably be the best in the world. But we do, and it will be the best in the world. So if you want like probably the best introduction to this game in the world, yeah, come on that. I'm already 2 places down because I'm booked in and he's booked in. We're just very excited for this. Right, that's not all that's coming from Battlefront at the moment, okay? Great War. So we're coming into 2016. 2016 is the 100th anniversary of the end of World War One. Let historical man search his database in his head.
It is a centenary, but it's not for the start or the end of the First World War.
It's the centenary of the middle of the war.
It's the centenary of the middle of the war. But for someone like me, it's a very interesting centenary because it's the 100th anniversary of the first deployment of the tank.
We're talking about the 100th birthday of the
Wait a
tank?
minute, hold on.
Yes.
So it only appeared in the middle of World War One.
Yes, because they fought on horseback at the start.
But
To be fair, they fought on horseback at the end as well. But
And in the start of the Second World War,
Yeah.
I still thought it was a good idea.
But it was all, yeah, I suppose, because the tank it was to solve the whole trench problem, wasn't
Yeah, it was to solve that stalemate
And
thing.
it would have to have been about the middle of the war where they've gone, you know what, I'm sick of this. We need to sort this problem.
Yep.
let's come on. It's time for you to own up here, Lloyd.
What?
Because let's be honest. You thought Captain Mannering and Jonesy invented the tank, didn't you?
Well, their bathtub did look pretty good.
Well, looking at some of the tanks in World War One, it's not far off.
No, it's not.
Yeah. Sam, have we got any pictures we can show?
We do.
Yeah, we're on to the Great War. I'll slide this.
Okay, well, it's set in 1918.
Yeah.
Okay, so their version of the Great War is a bit deeper in, but this is when tanks become more prevalent because the real, I don't want to say big tank battles because I don't know how big they were, but the real tank battles took place towards the end of the First World War. So, Jono, this tank here, Lloyd, you've got to stop and have a look at this one, right? This tank in particular is interesting. This is the German tank,
This
John.
is the Panzerwagen AV7 or A7V. A7V. This is an absolute monster of a thing.
It's covered in red. It looks like an armored room.
It is.
Well, how many people do you think's in it?
I don't know, one for every gun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7.
7 people in it, right?
You're
John?
You're under half.
What?
It's an 18-man crewed
But what?
vehicle.
But they just drive the thing. They don't.
Well, it took
jump out.
10 men to pedal.
Shut up.
18-man crew. What were they all doing?
You had 2 men per machine gun.
Yep.
You had 3 men on the gun in the front, and then you had a driver and a commander.
Why would you need 3 men on one gun?
Because you need a guy to aim it, you need a guy to load it, and you need a guy to shout fire.
This is a proper tank gun.
It's a cannon, yeah.
Yes. I was thinking like one gun. I was like, why do you need 3 guys? And they're all looking at each other. Did you get them?
But look at it. It's fabulous. It is absolutely fabulous. You know, it's like, I just think it's such a cool looking tank. It looks ridiculous. Sorry, let's be honest. It is ridiculous.
Well, we haven't even got on to the French stuff yet.
Oh, have we got some French stuff to see?
We
Yeah.
have some French stuff, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see some of the French stuff.
Look at that. What the heck?
Look at that color scheme. Is that real?
The Schneider
To be-
CA1.
To be fair, though, as Camel goes, it's working really well because I can barely make out the shape of that tank.
Yeah, it's doing a great way of disrupting the pattern. I've got to say, though, I absolutely love the Mark V.
It is the quintessential shape of a World War One tank. Everybody knows the shape of the British tanks. It's that big rhomboid shape.
But the thing is, a Churchill ends up looking not dissimilar to that anyway.
No.
It's like, oh, we've made tanks in the past. Let's make another one that looks like that with the tracks all around it.
The World of Tanks players out there will know this. The guys that designed the Mark IV and Mark V back in the First World War tried to have another stab at it in the Second World War.
Right.
And they made this thing called the TOG.
The dog.
The TOG, the TOG, and it stood for The Old Gang.
Right.
So they built this utter monstrosity, this 60-plus ton monstrosity that was about 45 feet long, 15 feet wide, and had the smallest cannon possible on it.
Were they taking the piss? Were they having a joke?
They genuinely thought this would be a good design, even though we already had Cromwell's Crusaders, all this really good fast stuff, and they thought, what we really need is a tank that can cross trenches. Well,
There's
there
no
wasn't
trenches.
enough trenches for them to cross, and it became an utter failure, and they scrapped the project.
And then, of course, later on, they invented the dozer blade and just filled in the trenches.
They just filled it in as they went along.
Do you know why tanks went away from this whole track over the thing? Was it just so they could put more storage, or was it so they could protect the tracks from being shot more?
It was.
Do you know the way you can see the track the entire way around the tank there, and then they cover them up?
It is a genuine design consideration for crossing wide ditches and trenches.
I know that's what that's for.
Yeah.
What I mean is, in World War II and whatnot,
We
you'll
disposed of
even
that.
see, like, I don't know what I think there's a Churchill that has the tracks exposed in the top,
Yeah.
and another version that doesn't or something.
Yeah.
Clearly, Lloyd has never seen Indiana Jones.
No, you don't get squished by the tank.
That's
do you?
why they covered it. Is because if you were a little dude and you jumped on it, you'd just go, ah!
No, but really, did they cover it to protect it more? Did they cover it so they could have tank riders, or did they cover it just so they could put like stuff on their tanks?
Health and safety, man. Health and safety.
That's the only time health and safety ever came into warfare.
No, don't touch anything. I've been dying to talk. Okay.
Okay.
Can I be the guy who just drops the tone of the whole thing, right?
on.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, I got really excited when Battlefront released the M113. Okay, because let's be honest, it is a 15 mil Rhino.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I now have 15 mil Land Raiders. This is just getting better and better. That is so Mark 1 Land Raider. In fact, that looks better than the Mark 1 Land Raider.
To see the way it has cannons on it, so it's got one on the front, 2 on the sides, and I guess 2 on the other sides. That's 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5. Are they like proper big cannons?
They're
or-
sponsors,
those are
aren't
machine
they?
guns.
Yeah.
Oh, those
Oh,
are
no, the machine guns,
What
yeah.
is it
Right.
on the front? Is it a machine gun on the front?
Right, if you notice on the box art, it says Mark V male or female.
Right.
The British Army were terribly weird with this sort of thing, and they decided they would make a male version of the tank and a female version of the tank.
Right, I have no idea what that means.
This is really weird. The female doesn't have gun sponsons, it doesn't have cannons, it has machine guns.
Right.
Right.
All machine guns. The male has 2 6-pounder guns on it. So 2 forward-facing cannon and the sponsons, but the female has the sponsons with machine guns on it instead.
So the male one gives you one big hit.
Yep.
Okay.
And
But the female one
natters
just
at
goes
you for a
natters
while.
at you and cuts you in half. Yeah.
I guess they were probably taking the ducks approach. Do you know the way you see ducks going around together? So did they then have a tank with a big gun going and another tank supporting it, so they were both shooting big ammo and shooting men at the same
I do
time.
essentially think that is probably the mindset the British generals have.
They were paired up, a male and a
Yes.
female, and they had different supporting roles.
Yes. Like ducks.
Any more pictures?
We skipped past like a trench sort of picture. Let me just go back to that.
Well, this is what we all know.
You can see,
World War One about.
more strange
Yeah.
French looking.
That is the French FT-17, the finest tank to come out of the First World War.
You think?
What?
Yep. It's the birth of the idea of the tank having its gun on a turret. It's the first tank to have a rotating turret with the cannon
Really?
on it. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Who designed it?
Renault.
Renault.
Yeah.
Who are about to get back into Formula One.
That's a shame. I mean, no, that's good.
So you reckon that was the best of the tanks?
It's probably the best tank to come out of the First World War because
Yeah.
it could do what we would now consider a modern tank could do.
Mhm.
So it could drive forward. It had its turret that could see all around it, and it could fire all the way around it as well.
Yeah.
And it
Well,
was fairly fast.
The other thing is you do see the trench works and stuff like that, which really is what when we think of World War One,
It's
we
trenches.
think of trenches,
Yeah.
and the reason for that is Blackadder. Really, it's like they're all dug in. Have we anything else? Then?
I think there's one other picture here, unless we've skipped through this. I'm not sure. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we haven't seen this.
Yeah.
So that's another one of the French.
Oh, I
ones.
like that one. Oh, what's that? What's that? Char and assault platoons.
That's a Shard Assault. The tanks themselves, it's one Schneider CA1, and I can't read the name of the other one there. But again, the French were weird because they came up with the FT-17 and thought, brilliant little tank, and then they came up with that thing and was like,
Yeah, so
don't see the point.
they come up with a tank where it could rotate its turret, and then
they put one in a fixed hull where it can't do anything.
I am gonna totally ruin Dave Shoulders' day.
Really?
If we get Dave on, I'm going to have to talk to Battlefront to let me and Dave and John have a crack at this, right? I'm going to do mine as a steampunk army.
Oh.
I am going to do, this is going to...
Let me just take my...
this is a prime opportunity for me to do Captain Nemo's kind of army, right?
Gets worse.
No, it's going to be great. So World War One is going on, okay?
Yes.
And Captain Nemo decides he's going to sort the whole thing out, okay? And of course he can afford to buy all the best cool kind of stuff, okay? And I'm going to dry brush it all silver and paint little copper rivets and stuff on it. This is going to be amazing.
I have a documentary for you to watch.
Yeah.
The Great Martian War.
Tell me about it.
It's weird World War One.
Yeah?
It's steampunk weird World War One, where Martians come down in 1916 and start invading Europe, and then everyone in this technology starts to try and fight an alien invasion.
It's not very realistic though, John.
It's
It's
a really good show. though.
is this the one where they've got the heavy metal trailer for it?
No.
Oh, it's a different one.
This one was done by, I think it was National Geographic or something like
Oh
that.
yes, I've
You know the
seen
one,
it.
and they
Right, I'm going to touch
doctored all
something
the
here, Lloyd.
footage.
Okay, have you touched this last one?
I'm
have
not
you?
sure.
No,
Right, well, I think I've got one more here to show
I
you.
bet you we've seen
we
it.
have.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've seen it.
Oh yeah, we've
The
seen
weird
it. We've
Frenchies,
seen it.
yeah.
Okay. Well, look, the Great War is coming. It's going to be here in October, November. There's just a ton of stuff coming from that. I've got to say, I think a Captain Nemo army is so on the cards for me on this one. I've never done it. I don't think I've ever done a steampunk army, and I think
Shut up! You haven't done a steampunk army. What did you call your Knackwolfen then?
they weren't steampunk. That was pulp. That's
very
different.
Nah.
That's different. That was pulp. That was the pulp kind of Nazi kind of flying saucer kind of thing. Okay.
Everyone out there is going to be going, "What's Lloyd going on about? Sure, he loves dust. Why is he opposed to this?"
Yeah. Well, honestly, I reckon my Great War stuff. I'm going to create a Captain Nemo army, and I'm going to have
That's
them.
why Nemo, Captain Nemo army.
This is going to be so cool.
Everyone at Battlefront is now going, should we have said yes to this?
Well, we will see. Anyway, Great War, definitely one worth checking out. Before we go into take a break and tell you about some hubs, okay? I don't have any information on it now, but I think the news has broke, and if it hasn't, I'm going to break it anyway. A little bird tells me that Gale Force 9 are going to start shouting about their Doctor Who board game today.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Dum,
So,
dum, dum, dum.
Gale Force 9, Gale Force 9 got the license to from the BBC to create a Doctor Who board game, okay? And I'm not sure exactly, okay, but the impression that I get, because I've been kind of stirring in around the back of Battlefront and stuff to say, can you tell me a little bit about it? The idea is that you get to play as any of the Doctors.
You see, that's the first question that sprung to mind. Is like,
Which doctor? Yeah.
Any of them, because they're all, because it's in a time continuum type thing, right? You get to play as any of the Doctors, and you're I don't know if it's cooperative or what way it works, but the Doctors are all interacting with each other. Tom Baker here. I'm going to give myself a big scarf because, like, you know, I again, Dave Shoulder. We've got to get Dr. Dave. He will be so into that. He will be so into that.
But if they're going to do any Doctor, surely that means you could encounter any sort of foe.
Yes.
I wonder if they'll have the Bertie Bassett monster.
Oh, that's a Tom Baker one.
No, I don't think it is.
Oh, it is. Tom Baker faced off against the sweetie man, Bertie Bassett. I'm pretty sure.
He's not actually called Bertie Bassett, but he does look like sort of like the Bertie Bassett man.
I think he's called the Candy Man.
Is he?
I think so.
Man.
I don't know. I can't
Me.
remember.
He freaked me out. I was
Really?
like, this is freaky. I don't like this at all, this Candyman thing. Ugh.
No, for me, the freaky one was the Cybermen.
Yeah.
I always thought the Cybermen were pretty scary, I've got to say. Right. Look, I'm gonna swap some stuff out. I want to get Justin in, okay? So, because I've got some other bits and pieces of news I want to talk about. So in the meantime, let's tell you about some hubs.
It's time for 28mm World War II action. Will you recreate history or reshape it your way? On the Bolt Action Hub at beastsofwar.com. From Viking halls to the cities of the future, terrain buffs will love our foreground hub. Watch gaming tables of all genres come to life at beastsofwar.com.
Okay, welcome back, and Justin joins us in the studio.
Yeah.
Right. We've got to power on here, guys, because we've got so much to do.
Yep.
Justin, what else is in the news today?
Next up is Asterian Guild Miniatures, who've been doing some very nice dwarf warriors.
Dwarves again?
Dwarves again. You know I like my dwarves. Look at this. Look at that dwarf.
Oh,
Look at that dwarf.
You
Tell
kn-
me that is not a beautiful dwarf.
You knew this wasn't going to hit the internet and Ben not pick this up.
Yeah.
Of course not.
Well, you see, we got Ben and Justin both love their dwarves.
Yeah. Well,
Have we any other pictures?
Yeah,
of
yeah. You've got your dwarf warriors.
Oh,
so you've got the
Justin,
nice
look at
little
it.
bucklers or the big tower shields.
Oh, I like the big shield. I love the expression on his face.
This is my favorite one now. The female dwarf ranger in proper armor
Now,
with an axe shotgun.
yeah.
yes, take note. The axe gun's just amazing.
Axe shotgun.
Yeah, I
Which
do
is
like
just
that. It's
absolutely
not an
kick-ass.
armored bikini either, which is good.
Yeah. We have sort
Well,
of
well, it kinda is.
another two here.
Uh-huh.
So this guy with an axe, or this guy with two nice little pistols with
Right.
dragon filigree.
Now, slow down
Whoa,
just
whoa,
for a
whoa,
sec.
slow down, because you're
Slow
going too
down.
quick. Some of this is
Right.
really awesome, yeah.
Now, check out the pistols. That's class.
Yeah.
I love the way that we've got that.
I will, can I point it out? I've got to point it out.
Okay, go ahead.
Standing on a rock?
I can,
Really?
I can live with this.
Really? Come
it's
on,
not a
standing
crime.
on a
It's
rock?
hang on. How long does it take for a post to become a classic?
I'll tell you what, my problem isn't the fact that he's standing on a rock. It's my problem is they're both standing on a rock.
It's the same
It's
dude.
the same dude, different weapons.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Right.
Okay.
Right, and the best of the dwarves.
Uh-huh.
Say hello to their cavalry.
Oh,
Wolf hogs
so it's like a wolf and a hog.
together.
Look at the expression on that dude's face.
Look at the expression on the hog's face.
Look at the bedroll.
Oh, man.
Now, these guys are not just doing dwarves. I will tell you that.
Yeah.
They have a forest troll.
Wait. Can I just say, right?
Okay.
Do you see if those things existed in real life,
Yeah.
right? And we're in the Bullingdon Club, we wouldn't have a prime minister today. Okay.
All right.
Lloyd is looking at me
Oh,
puzzled.
no,
The
no,
troll.
no, I get it. I get the joke.
Stop getting distracted. There is a troll.
Oh, look at that one.
Look at the troll. All right, how about a close up?
Oh, please, yeah. What have we got?
Look at this.
Oh,
Look at that
is so
face.
mean, isn't it?
Do you know what that troll looks like? It looks a bit like the sort of the troll thing that's in
What, Troll Hunter?
No, what's the show with all the wee guys traveling through time? Time Bandits.
Time Bandits.
Do you know, with the big teeth and all?
Yeah.
There's a point where they all stretch him out and fix his back for him.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put on my blank face for this one. Sorry,
Oh,
lads.
please tell me you've seen Time
No,
Bandits.
I haven't seen Time Bandits.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Wait. I've got to say it now.
Yeah.
Okay. Who the hell does this? Artisan Guild. Why have I never heard of these guys before? Artisan Guild miniatures, right?
Yeah.
Can I say what I love about this, right? And I'm
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
use this troll as a prime example, okay?
Yeah, gone ahead.
Like, we talk about sculpting quality and stuff like that there,
Yeah.
okay? And the digital sculpting quality of this is, I think, fantastic, right? I'm looking at this. Go to the full-on shot of
Full
these
shot
guys,
of this guy?
right?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this, and I'm thinking to myself, that is a beautiful miniature. It's going to be fun to paint that, okay?
Can I point one thing out, Warren?
Yeah,
Standing on a stump.
he is standing on a stump. Go back to his face, though.
But no, well, yeah, he's standing on
Go
stump.
back to his face.
Okay, back to the close-up. Yeah.
Because this is my key point. Sculpting quality aside,
Yeah.
the character
Yeah.
of these models
Yeah. But
is truly inspirational.
it's that pose as well. He's very at ease, relaxed, just going,
yeah,
so you think you want to have a go?
It's the character of it. It's the artistic direction that they're going with these.
They've got some beautiful work done. Absolutely beautiful work.
Right. Lloyd's touching something.
Yeah,
What's
because
going to come up?
I like the shape of the feet and all that sort of stuff. They've given it. It's not just some sort of regular big foot on this troll. I love that.
I saw that
sort of-
Velociraptor foot.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah, it's really, really nicely
Have you
done.
anything more to show us?
No, that's all I had for these guys.
Okay. Right. Artisan Guild miniatures.
Yeah.
Right. What's up next?
I'm going to keep spoiling you. Next up is Bloodkeep Miniatures. Who've
right.
done
So, what have
this
these guys
guy.
got then?
Look at this.
Oh!
My mission today is just to blow you guys away with this.
Holy moly!
Yeah. Would you like a better shot of him?
Yes.
Say hello to my little friend, who's actually huge.
This looks really cool.
Yeah. The
Right.
detail on those wings is just fantastic.
I'm getting back into Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Right, I haven't been in Dungeons and Dragons for a long time because
Yeah.
I ended up preferring Warhammer quests
Yeah.
and stuff like that there. Did you know, and I know this is going to be very like, how did you not know that? I've been there for a long time. Did you know that in Dungeons and Dragons they actually have a race of dragon people?
Yes, the Dragonborn. I've played one.
The Dragonborn, right?
Right.
Tell me that would not be an awesome Dragonborn.
I think your problem is these miniatures are actually designed to be really big.
Yeah, I think this guy's going to be huge.
You know,
Yeah.
maybe
Alright, sorry,
maybe
so-
an end level boss
No, do you know what?
Dragonborn.
You're absolutely right. Tell me this wouldn't be awesome as a massive Dragonborn.
I'm thinking end-level boss.
A Dragonborn, right, who has been, magically kind of... he's a necromancer Dragonborn who's made himself really big.
Okay, done. Sold.
Okay.
We want one. We want
Yeah.
one for a
Well,
dungeon crawler.
I've got a couple other images of him here, so
Yeah.
we'll get a look at the side and the back of him and his actual base.
Look at the size of his stump.
Yeah. But look at the delicate details on his sword and the staff that he's rolling about with. And then the staff is that nice big flowing banner off it.
You know what? I'd say his feet look really nice, but I think someone out there would accuse me of having a foot fetish.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't know. He's planting that one down just a little bit delicately.
So, concepted by Albert Agius and
Yeah.
sculpted by Charles Agius.
Yeah.
Brothers.
Brilliant work.
Maybe brothers. Maybe brothers. I'm going to take a guess that they
brothers,
might be brothers.
cousins, some form of relation.
Yeah, they're either brothers, cousins, or maybe wed.
Yeah.
They might be married. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
brother-in-law.
just making an assumption here, but
Beautiful work.
The artistic direction once again is just
Again,
lovely.
It's for one of those beautiful big centerpieces. that
Are you
just
giggling at
plant
me
down.
being politically correct because I caught myself out there? So
No, I'm giggling at you being politically correct, and I think Justin said something like brother love or something.
No, brothers-in-law.
Oh,
in-law. Okay.
I thought he said
Is my
Brother-in-law.
lisp that bad? I know I talk funny.
Yeah.
Especially to everybody who's not from Ireland. I know I talk funny, but is it that bad?
Brothers-in-law don't share the same surname, dude.
They can do.
Well, it would only be if they had the same name to begin with, unless it's in another culture where a guy takes the wife's name.
I'm sure there's a culture out there.
Well,
where that
okay, well,
happens.
it's
I'm sure there's a culture out there
Our
where it happens.
apologies to any brothers out there, any cousins out there, any brothers-in-laws who live within a society where they take their wife's name. And
Wow, you're
married
covering all the bases.
or also apologies to any females who may be called Charles or Albert, Have we got everything covered now?
I think so.
Okay, let's move
All
on.
right, aside from the kitchen sink, I think we left that bolted in.
It is beautiful, though.
It's beautiful.
It is absolutely beautiful.
Right, shall I keep wowing you? We've got another different one here from the news.
What?
We've got a
You've
different
more?
one. We have another one
Of this?
for the news.
From
No,
these
no,
two?
not
all
for
right,
this.
all right, so we're passing it right. Go and check them
story.
out. Bloodkeep Miniatures, okay?
Okay.
And this is Tyrath, okay?
Yes.
Right, so what's up next then?
Next up is from Hysterical Games with their Panzerfauste game. Look at these guys.
Ah.
Sort of a fantasy World War
What's that?
I-esque thing going on.
What's that? What's that lizard thing?
Oh, that thing. I have an image just for you for that because I knew you would love it. Say hello to the Orc Worm tank.
Oh, it's a Tankosaurus is what that is.
It's a blend of fantasy and World War One.
Oh, so this is a World War One.
Tell me that doesn't look like a World War One tank.
It does, on the top of Godzilla.
Yeah.
If he was crawling around on his belly.
Yeah. But I mean, like, who's not to love that mashup of two genres, historical and fantasy? You know, it's a beautiful mashup. You have to give it to me.
I'm telling you.
Am I right?
When you look at that, are you feeling hysterical? Or are you feeling mine?
Oh, my brain!
Had to work it. Well, have you anything else of these dudes? I'm really into this.
You've got French gnomes, I believe, who get these. Sort of a snail tank / artillery piece.
A snail tank.
It's like a snail tank / artillery piece.
It's got to be like a giant snail tank.
Of course. Well, not if they're gnomes. Doesn't have to be quite gigantic.
They probably just photographed this really close.
Yeah.
Oh, so why are we doing
Well,
that?
we
This
know-
is close, very far away thing again?
We know from
Yeah.
the Disney Doctor Dolittle
Yeah.
that there are giant pink snails that would
Right.
that would work out perfectly for any kind
Right.
of up armament.
Yeah.
Have we anything else?
is
Right,
one-
who is this? So
is this
it's
a joint-
Panzerfauste from Hysterical Games.
Yes, and it's hysterically accurate.
Is it a JV?
Oh God, it's
What?
hysterically accurate. Oh,
I got it.
I thought my
I got
joke
a good
was
one.
bad. All right, okay.
It just flew over my head. Is it one company or is there more than one company in this?
Well, the guys at Protos are doing some of the sculpt work for them. But the
Yeah.
game
The
itself
sculpting
is from,
or the casting? Which is it?
You
don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
But, there's an image here of some of the line troops who actually have the Protos Games logo on it as well as Hysterical Games. So they're involved with it. You know,
Okay.
that's what I'll say. Just so as I don't say anything silly.
Yeah. Well, we'll find out more as it gets closer.
Yeah.
I believe that's going to Kickstarter, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is.
Yeah. So we'll keep an eye out for that
it's
one.
not on Kickstarter just yet, but it's one
Yeah.
to keep your eyes peeled for because it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Right. Anything else?
Right, well, you know the way I love my video games.
Yes.
I love to see video games transfer from video game to board game.
Yes.
We've had one come in which everyone on the internet should enjoy. Have you ever played Portal?
No.
What?
He's on the internet. He's never played it.
What is wrong with you?
No, I've never played Portal. I've never played Portal.
You missed out, dude. You missed
I've
out.
never played Half-Life. I retired from video gaming. Rainbow Six Vegas was the last video game that I actually played at any kind of level. I then retired after that.
I am so disappointed.
He missed out in the orange box experience.
Oh,
Never got the orange box. It was simply a case. I've talked about this before.
Right.
I was big into video gaming ever since I was a kid. Okay, got as far as Rainbow Six Vegas 2.
Okay.
Decided it's not for me anymore because the whole hand-eye coordination thing. I was starting to lose my love of it,
Okay.
and I wanted to use my highly strategic brain. But have something that would work better at my pace and allow me to enjoy it more.
Okay.
I went right back into miniatures
Right, well,
and loved it.
Because I was playing a lot of RTS at the time, and I tried to suggest it to you, and you're like, "No, I can't understand what's going on."
I couldn't keep up. I just couldn't keep up. I was trying the Dawn of War, and I just couldn't keep up. But it did inspire me to think, well, if I do a miniatures game, if I get back into miniatures wargaming and stuff like that,
So
I'll have to do it.
the old man needs time to think. Fair enough.
Give over.
Oh, your hair's great today.
Look at this.
I'm wearing
Hey.
this. I'm wearing this because my hair's all over the place. So,
Well, right, let me explain what Portal is to you very briefly then, okay?
okay.
It's a puzzle game where you have a portal gun, which allows you to create a hole in the universe from one point to another.
Yeah, so what you'll do is, in the video game, you walk into a big room that's arranged in a certain way, and then you fire your portal gun at a wall, and it'll open a hole there, and then you'll fire it at another wall, and you'll jump through one portal and come out where you placed the other portal.
Or you can put one on the ceiling, one on the floor, jump in, and fall forever.
So you can solve puzzles by moving around the room by going in and out of portals, or by casting portal. Say I put a portal here, right? And I put a So that's a portal that's going to come out, and there's a heavy crate or something sitting over there. I cast a portal underneath. It'll fall through that and come up through this.
So it's a bit of a head turner. It's really playing on your spatial awareness.
Using portals to move things around from location to location.
It sounds genius.
To solve
It is
puzzles.
absolutely genius. They've got 2 versions of it, Portal 1 and 2. This, however, is you taking over a team of test subjects in the Aperture Labs where it's all set.
Yes.
The key is you're trying to get pieces of cake to actually score points,
Is
right?
that a euphemism?
No, it's actual gooey, delicious cake. Chocolate, I think.
Essentially, there's a freaky lab, and it's got a lot of human test subjects in it who are trapped in it.
Yeah.
And they're trying to solve all these puzzles with what they think they're going to get out, or they think they're just going to get cake.
They think they're getting out, but at the very end, it's the last mission. You are promised cake if you stay on a platform to the very end. The problem is if you stay on to the very end, you go into a furnace, which came out with a thing on the internet, the cake is a lie. So the cake is very important in this game.
Right, okay.
So you're running around collecting cake, right?
Yes.
As you play
Hence
each
why
turn-
you've got these little
which
cake.
are very cute.
Yeah.
The key is parts of the map are falling off at the end of each turn.
Yeah.
If one of your test subjects or a piece of your cake is on there, it's destroyed. Whenever someone is completely out of test subjects, whoever has the most cake wins.
Yeah.
Hence the reason it's called Portal, the uncooperative cake acquisition game.
Ah, you see.
Any other pictures?
No, I only had the 2 for it.
Okay.
There's not much online, but it's one of those things that calls to my inner gamer.
I've played Portal, but mostly it was Portal 2. But the best thing about Portal 2 was the voiceover for the little flying droid thing. You'll
Are you
know.
still there?
You'll know who it was. It's the guy who used to.
Oh,
do
you're
all
on
this-
about Wheatley.
Is it Wheatley? The guy.
Yeah, it is Wheatley, because he takes over the lab in 2.
Is it the guy who used to do a lot of No, yes, not him, but the actual actor's name. It's the guy who does a lot of stuff with Rick. He used to do a lot of stuff with Ricky Gervais.
Stephen Merchant.
That's the one. He voices it, and I think that's epic the way he's done that.
Now, they told me if I ever came off this rail, I would die.
It's just
You kind of had to
great
be
the way he
there.
does it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Portal
But
is
it's one
Portal
of
is
those
coming
things.
to a
If you
board
love
game.
the Portal game, I would say pick this up, have a go with it, and you should have a few laughs with your friends.
What I'm actually interested in is I'm wondering if I play this and enjoy it, is it going to convince me? But you only got Portal as part of the orange box.
No,
so-
you can
Or
get it
buy
on its own.
separately.
And again, the second one, you actually had a cooperative mode where you were playing 2 little robots.
Yeah.
So it actually doubled the amount of portals you could put out, and they put in far more complicated puzzles and stuff to
If
solve.
you've still got your 360, you fire it up and you'll pick it up for very little.
Oh, yeah.
The digital copy.
Okay. Are we out of news yet?
No, there's one that I've been saving
Okay.
for you.
There's more!
For you, Warren.
It's going to be a long show today.
No, this is the last one now, but I've been saving
we
this
got?
one for you because it's something you love.
Yes.
We have a new vehicle from Terminator Genesis. It's from the movie. It's one of the big walker tanks.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, here, hang on. I'll give you a close up. Now, I've only got 2 images of this. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's not really out too far
Look at
anywhere.
the size of it.
Yeah. It's a monster. Like,
Does this the Walker tank then? Do they not have tanks on tracks in this movie? 'Cause
I don't remember. I remember seeing these, and they were really nasty.
You know the ones I'm talking about? They had the big guns and they had a
Yes,
big track.
I remember
Does
from
this,
1, 2, and
Does
whatever.
this replace them?
I'm not sure. I'm not going to commit myself on this.
No, I haven't actually seen the new Terminator movie yet. Are
Sacrilege.
these in it?
Yes, those are in it, but
Yeah.
you really need to go see it because it's really good.
You're saying sacrilege though, but it didn't get reviewed particularly well.
I enjoyed it.
Is it
That's
good,
the only
yeah?
review I care about. I enjoyed it. That's my review.
Okay, I can't fault you on that. This looks very cool.
It is.
There's a join line there, so maybe it's just in the prototype in and around the gun. So maybe that's I don't know.
It's looking pretty cool apart from the
It's just that one seam, just that
yeah.
one seam. So
But I mean, like, I'd say once this hits its finished product, you'll not have that.
yeah,
Like, you would hope.
yeah.
But it's a really cool monster piece to put down for your humans to fight against.
It's a masterpiece of a monster piece, isn't it?
Oh, now who's doing puns? So
Right.
that's the end of the news.
Okay, so for Terminator Genesis, then definitely worth checking out. I really am enjoying my Terminator stuff. I'm still painting away at wrecking cars to create my nuclear wasted
I've seen you
landscape.
put trees and stuff into them now, so that they've been sitting there long enough just for this horrible little tree to grow out of.
Yeah, it's gribbly. It's gribbly. Right, we're going to take a quick break, tell you about the hubs, and then whenever we come back, we're going to have Stuart from Mantic in the studio to try and get a catch up on all things Warpath 2.0.
Keep your blaster handy, the West is a dangerous place. Fight to survive as men turn to monsters and the dead rise on the Wild West Exodus Hub at beastsofwar.com. Venture into the dangerous dungeons of myth as a mighty hero and stand against the darkness. Visit the Myth Hub on beastsofwar.com and begin your story.
Hi guys, welcome back. We are joined by Stuart from Mantic.
Hi guys.
We're going to talk Warpath, but before that, I have to do this.
No. Okay. That is one cool ass mini.
Okay.
You've been
right.
drooling over this all day.
Yes. I'm enjoying that. I like flyers. Okay. What I like even more than flyers is the plural of that. So I like a game where I could have lots of flyers of lots of different times. And I think we found that game.
I think we have.
Okay, right. We're going to talk about Warpath. Warpath 2.0 is on Kickstarter. You're unlocking. Well, basically, you're bringing new rules.
Yep.
2 rule sets. We'll get onto that later, and a bunch of new models.
Yep.
Okay. So, first question is, what took you so long?
Yeah, it has been a long time coming. You may remember that we initially launched Warpath back in 2011, and we had a very small range of models, and we had some initial rules that we put out to alpha, but we didn't have enough stuff there to make a full war game.
Yeah.
So we had our hardcore fans that really enjoyed it, but we just weren't wide enough. There wasn't enough interest in it. So we have spent the past 4 years building up our universe. We've got Dreadball, we've got Deadzone, and
it's all set in the same universe.
It's all set in the same universe. We've done that on purpose so that we can introduce new races, we can introduce new backstories and characters and vehicles and everything like that. Introduce those into the universe, get people excited about them on a smaller scale, and at the same time we can build up a bank of models like these ones we've got on the table, and it means when we get to do Warpath again like we are now, we've got a good starting point. That solves the problem.
Now you have a lot of races, especially as a result of Dreadball.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
And this, I never considered that, but this actually makes me very excited because what you're actually telling me, Stuart, is what do you call that little squeegee dude in Dreadball? Little squeegee little
Sniffle?
guy. Snorkel.
Yeah.
I can have an entire snorkel invasion force.
Afraid not, because if I remember the fluff right, he's the last of his kind.
If
I remember it right.
And here I wanted
He
them
thinks
binding
he's the
around.
last of his kind.
Aha!
So I
It was
want
all
them
a trick.
Imagine you could have what is effectively the space hopper invasion technique, where they come and they give you big hugs and hug you to death.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm not gonna go any further down that, right? But right, so Dreadball, Deadzone especially,
Yes.
really started to pattern out. We got all the terrain and
Yes.
stuff like that there, so we have a ton of stuff.
Yes.
The one thing that was missing was vehicles, really.
Yes, absolutely. We thought you can't have a war game without vehicles.
No.
And Deadzone was small scale. It wouldn't make sense to have 1 vehicle and 3 troops. But once you get to a Warpath scale where you do have whole units on the table, you need some vehicles to get them there. You need some vehicles to support them. Take out the buildings, take out the other vehicles. That kind of
Well,
thing.
let's run through the Kickstarter.
Sure.
What are we trying to fund? Can we start with this? Or do you
Of
wanna
course.
wait? Yeah. Let me show you this, guys. So this is the flyer for the corporation enforcers, and have a look at that.
I remember seeing the concept for this, but actually seeing the miniature in the flesh or in the material it's made from is so much better. It's a really brutal little vehicle.
It's quite weighty too. I recommend but this is obviously a resin or a
3D print.
3D print.
Yeah.
In plastic, it'll still be a fairly weighty, robust model.
Yeah.
And this is something I quite like, because I was chatting about this recently on Backstage.
Yeah.
In that, some models are starting to get very fragile.
Yeah.
With lots and lots of intricate little extra details that whenever you take them in and out of your army case, they're breaking. No such danger with this. It's a fairly rugged piece of kit. Now, this comes in multiple options, doesn't it?
This isn't all you'll get in the kit. You will also have a version that can be assembled as a bomber. So it will replace these burst lasers on the side with
So
bombs.
these come off
Yep.
and bombs go on.
Yeah, and also the transport section on the
Now
bottom.
this is interesting, right? Can I take this off?
Yep.
Yeah. So this actually comes off. This is an extra component that is optional, yeah?
Yes.
So on the underside then, so can you use this for transporting vehicles potentially? Or, you know, so there's lots of options based on this pattern of craft then.
Yes. Yeah, we have two main options on the initial sprue. We've already funded another one with some additional weapons in resin through the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And we've got the options to do more as things progress.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a cracking looking kit. You know, so let me just show you the underside there, guys, because you may have missed it. So there's some of the VTOL type fan blades and things there. And I'll just show you the inside of the actual troop carrier. So this one is, you could have basically like drop troops that jump out the back of this bird
Yes, exactly.
and do their damage. I'm really into that.
Yeah.
I think that is very, very cool.
Yeah, well, all of the enforcers have jetpacks, so
Yeah.
we thought it wouldn't make a lot of sense for them to get in a tank and go into battle.
Yes.
They'll jump out of a plane instead.
Yeah, well, I mean, like this feels very like the corporation to me, because it wouldn't just be making purpose-built vehicle. It's all multi-purpose, single chassis, off we go.
Well, we've seen that even with the terrain and stuff like that. You know, the Warpath has taken this route of, you know, everything has to be multifunctional. It has to be able to be
Yes.
reutilized and reconfigured, and that's definitely following along the I suppose the narrative that you guys have laid out for this.
Yeah, there's we've put a lot of effort into the background. So through the Dreadball and Deadzone Kickstarters, we've done short story compilations that expand out the stories of all the different races. We've got another story that went up online. I think it was end of last week. So if you go to the Kickstarter page, you can read that. But yeah, it's setting up that the corporations all out for money. So yeah, if they can make something modular and just put it down on thousands of planets at once, or for a quick buck, they'll do that.
Yeah.
It's not the only vehicles we have. We've got these, the jet bikes. Let me show you guys those. So
These are lovely little
look
things.
at that. You know, it's we've got a couple of them. I think these are so nice. You know, it's just look at them. What a cracking piece of design. I'm just going to take the base off this carefully so I can actually show it off.
We've also made these fully compatible with the Enforcer hard plastic sprues, so that you can change out the heads and arms of the riders.
Right.
Ooh, nice.
Awesome. Just look at it.
Yeah.
You know, I can imagine fleets of these basically screaming across the battlefield. What else have we got? Then we've got some pictures, Justin, of
yeah,
some
we
other
do.
stuff
So
for
if
unlocking.
you can tell us what we're seeing as I call them up here. So first up we have this.
Yeah,
What is that?
These are the Rangers for the corporation, so they are the elite drop troops. They'll drop into the battle, and yeah, they are the ones that are heavily trained for combat. They're not just the standard military that every corporation has.
And what's the name of the flyer? Do we have a name
This
for
is
this?
the Interceptor.
And are those the guys that go into the back of the Interceptor? Or?
No, it's the Enforcers themselves that go into this.
Uh-huh.
These are the troopers that fight for the many corporations throughout the universe.
Yeah.
So these are the standard human troops.
Right. Okay.
cool.
Yeah.
Well, next up we have the Asterian flyer, which I really like the look of.
Oh, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah, now this is something that we haven't yet put up onto the Kickstarter. This is something we're hoping to fund in the future. This is one of the new...
Show it here first, folks. So, yeah.
So yeah, the stretch goal for this isn't up yet, but it's something we really want to do.
Yeah.
I'm really excited by
Oh,
this.
look
vehicle.
at it. Yeah, it is. That's a very, very cool piece of kit. What else have we got?
Moving along, we're then on to my favourite race, the Forge Fathers.
Right.
Yep.
We have their tank and their APC. This is
This
gorgeous.
one here is the Drakkar APC, and this is the Sternhammer battle tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, they've got that chassis that is modular. There's another one or two variants that we're going to do to put onto that as well.
Yeah, and again, it has that nice Forge Father style to it. So as if the very front plate of the tank has sort of a face to it, as if it's a visor, which just looks really, really cool.
I have also made a point of when we got these designed, they are supposed to hold 10 troops, and 10 troops will fit inside them.
Okay,
Nice.
so you've went for a proper true scale type. Okay. Anything else?
Next up, we have the Asterian troops, I think.
Oh.
Yeah, now these have just been funded on Kickstarter, so these
Yeah.
are new hard plastic infantry, and that's another big focus of what we're doing now.
Mm-hmm.
Through Deadzone Infestation earlier this year, we funded a load of new troops, such
Yeah.
as the Plague that we've got here, the
Let me just show off some of the plague while we're at it. So it's
The Plague are really nice minis, just
Yeah.
because they're so characterful.
so this is some of the plague minis.
Here, let me pass you my particular favourite one, which
rest
is
of
this dude here.
You like this one?
Yeah,
So,
because he's sort of a commander figure, almost.
there he is.
Very, very nice.
yeah,
So these guys already exist then.
not in plastic yet, but they will be. Because vehicles aren't the only thing that make a war game. You need a lot of troops as well. So
Yeah.
we're going into hard plastic in a big way. We've got 9 or 10 new kits in total coming out. We've got the jet bikes, the Plague, the new Asterians, Forge Fathers,
Yeah.
Pathfinders, all sorts of things.
What else have we got?
There's one more image for the Veermen, so John's
Yeah.
faction, which we're forcing him to play.
Right.
This was something we funded earlier in the campaign, and this is the Veerman vehicle. It comes up from underground.
Yeah.
It can appear in the middle of the battlefield. These drills will open up. Troops will come pouring out.
So it's a driller.
Yeah.
It's a driller.
So the rats are digging holes to come up on unexpected places, I assume, in the battlefield, which will
Yeah.
give them a nice play style.
Yeah.
Now, we've been fortunate enough today to actually get a little bit of a playthrough of Warpath. Now, I want to talk about, there's 2 sets of rules in development, okay? There's the Warpath 2 rules, as I have expected them for a while now, which are geared towards big battles at 28 mil. So you're kind of apocalypse scale type battles,
Yes.
using 28 mil
Yeah, but
miniatures.
they don't seem to bog down on that rule set from what we've seen.
Well, the interesting thing I saw today was we actually played that rule set at a small scale. It was actually really fun. It was it didn't feel heavy. It didn't feel cumbersome. It felt quick. It felt like what you have been describing Kings of War to me is like.
And
That's
I
what
was
we've been
looking over
trying
your
to do.
shoulder the whole way going, I should no, whoa, don't do that. Okay, bite your tongue, bite your tongue, bite your tongue.
Yeah. Tactically, I wasn't particularly strong in it because I'm still trying to get used to the mechanics so as I can actually work out the tactics of it. But that's one set of rules. And basically that's defined by 5-man units that you could either put on a base or not bother with them on a base. But they are considered as a unit, and
Yes.
it's for me. I really enjoyed having them on the base. Now, in saying that, although it's 5 guys on a base, there is a level of meta to this where you can individually arm
Yes.
the guys on the base, so you have quite a lot of flexibility and metagaming options there
Yes.
to really take it out. But when you start playing it, it's very slick.
Yeah,
It is very
we've
slick.
made all of the complexity come into the game at the army list building stage. So you pick your unit, you pick which upgrade you've got, and then you've got one stat line that holds everything that unit does.
Yeah.
So when you're actually playing in the game, it's all quick. You don't
Yeah.
you don't need to be thinking about all those different weapons and different things during the game.
Now, I originally I thought to myself, I put my 5-man units, and I actually put them on kind of like little movement trays, for want of a better word. And I thought before I got into it, this is going to be odd, but it wasn't. It really worked. It really worked rather well. Once you understood that there's an abstraction level here, it really went quick, and it was brutal, but it was very tactical because it's like a mix of Kings of War and Deadzone in that respect. So I felt Justin was saying to me, oh, that's like Kings of War there, that's like Kings of War, but I understood the Deadzone elements of it, where a unit had 2 short actions and stuff like that. So, but it worked really, really well.
Yeah, well, the other thing was, you're assuming the men are in a zone, but you're not assuming they're standing on the exact places on the base. You're assuming that they're in the zone, but they're going to be ducking down, they're going to be taking cover, they're going to be doing what a squad does.
Yeah, and it was one of those ones that it even at the small scale, like we only played 4 units aside or so in that, just to get the hang of the mechanics, and it was still a very enjoyable game. But I can totally see where when you scale this up, how you have your big battlefields, flyers, tanks and stuff like that rolling around. How it really does become, it's like epic,
Yes.
but at 28 mil. You know, it's
I'm just waiting to see an 18-foot table filled with this stuff. It's going to look amazing.
yes, it totally is. But it's not the only rule set you're creating.
No, it's not. No. We put these rules out towards the beginning of this year because we had been working on them for a long time. We've been trying to work out which direction to take the game, and we decided we want to play big battles.
Yeah.
So we put these rules out, and they achieve what we wanted, which was big battles in a short amount of time. But they didn't scratch the itch for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a lot of people saying, I've played them, they're really slick, they're quick, that's what I want. But a lot of people also saying, well, I want to play a sci-fi game, I want to do all those things, but I want to get closer to the action, I want to move around the individual figures, I want to name them, I want to work out who's
Every
shooting.
figure counts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's shooting through the window at that one, and that kind of thing. They wanted a bit more granularity to the game. So we've taken that on board, and we are currently writing Warpath Firefight.
Mm-hmm.
So it takes the same core of the game, it does all the same things, but it zooms in a bit. So
Yeah.
we're playing with a slightly smaller force, and every model will count. So
Right.
where you're moving the individuals around on the table.
So if I can stop you there, right?
Yes.
So Warpath, in the Warpath universe, you kind of have three modes then, right? You have your macro mode, which is Warpath 2.0, that main rule set, which I got to say, it's the one that's appealing to me at the moment because I really, really
You
like
love
the idea of
epic.
loads
You
of these.
You love the epic spectacle.
You can then come down a level, so that might be, that can deal with hundreds of miniatures. Hundreds of miniatures, no problem at all, right? You then come down, you zoom in a bit more, okay? And then you're looking at something, what, maybe 40, 50, 60 miniatures?
Something around that range, yeah.
That kind of thing, where the miniatures themselves... So it's kind of like the war games that we're typically used to, 40k bolt action, that kind of level.
The best way to think about it is that the Warpath that we played earlier, that is, you are the orbital commander sitting in the spaceship, watching the battle, directing it from there. You go down to Firefight, you're the captain standing on the battlefield, directing the troops around. You go down to Deadzone, and that's where you are this guy.
Yes.
You're running around the corner, you're shooting.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go to. Then you have a Deadzone at the micro level where you have maybe 10 guys, 15 guys or something like that, doing the very close ops type stuff.
And that's where you're paying attention to not just every guy, but every bullet. It's at that level.
You see, I like the fact that you can get those levels down to be a little more personal with the game. You know, so things aren't just big swathing movements across the battlefield. No, you're down, you're a little more gritty. You're seeing, okay, this is going there, that's going there, and things do count more. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, I've got to say now, having played the big battle one, we haven't played the Firefight yet. I'm looking forward to getting you guys back over to try that out. But you know, the big battle game is a rule set that doesn't exist at the moment in the marketplace. So I'm actually really taken by it. And what I'm interested in doing is the same as for Kings of War. I'd quite like to just go ahead and create my little dioramas and have my army ready to rock and roll. I know that people have the option of they could create the dioramas. Obviously, with you creating Firefight and stuff like that, you probably just want to have your guys that they plug in.
Yeah, because then you can start with a Deadzone force. It's a good way to get into the game. Start with buying 10 figures, then expand out to a bigger army, and then a bigger army.
Yeah. So you have all the options covered for all the different scales. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, guys, it's on Kickstarter at the moment. Be sure to go and check it out. We are going to be digging into it, hopefully, a bit more over the coming weeks and keeping an eye on where you get to. Stuart, look, thank you so much for joining us. Guys, we're going to take a quick break and tell you about some hubs. After the break, we've got a couple of other Kickstarters, a couple of surprising ones for you. So, yeah, stay tuned.
Keep your blaster handy, the West is a dangerous place. Fight to survive as men turn to monsters and the dead rise on the Wild West Exodus Hub at beastsofwar.com. Anime cyberpunk style meets skirmish combat in Infinity. Experience 8 high-tech factions and fight to control the human sphere at the Infinity Hub on beastsofwar.com.
Welcome back, guys. We have Brian Best from Anarchy Models in the studio. I want to chat about airbrushing. But before we get too far onto airbrushing, I'll let them know. Brian, you have a Kickstarter starting, well, pretty much any time
Pretty
now.
much any time, yeah. As soon as I can get it sorted out and submitted.
So Brian's got a Kickstarter kicking off. It's basically for stencils for these jobbies here. So let me just show you them. So this is these are the high-speed stencils, Brian. Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm going to be talking at length about stenciling and that as a part of airbrushing, but these give you all kinds of patterns. So these two here are kind of more geometric shape, and if anybody's followed Brian's Kickstarter, you'll be fairly familiar with these kinds of shapes, but these ones are smaller and maybe a little bit more manageable, or what's the difference?
Well, we hadn't done the
these?
diamond grids before. People were asking for those, so we wanted to add those.
Mm-hmm.
We're also adding a lot smaller versions of the mini grids as well.
Yeah.
That was something that was asked for quite a lot.
The end result is you end up being able to achieve effects like this. So to do something like that, you basically just... I'm going to bring up a picture here, Brian, actually,
Yep.
of how it actually works. So you hold it over the model, and there's enough flexibility in it that it'll actually follow the curvature and stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to try and go around multiple curves in different directions at the same time, but just one curve, it goes around quite nicely.
Yeah. Okay. As cool as these are, the real highlight of this particular Kickstarter for me is what Brian has been calling the creature features. Okay. So have a look at this. So this is which one's this, Brian?
This is the creature features leopard.
Mm-hmm. So this is the leopard skin one, and you apply it, and you end up with an effect rather like this. And I actually have the model here, the test model. We've filmed a few tutorials for you guys, so as you can actually see how it looks. But if we filmed how to shade this as well, so we filmed
The picture that we just showed a second ago didn't have the shading on. It was just the stencil and a little bit of shading. And then we've added a bit more.
So you put the stencil down, and then actually did the shading over the top of what was.
And that way it helps tone the black down a little bit, and stops it making the spots look like they're just stuck on.
Yeah. So there's that one. He has a host of these, and he's open to ideas for more if you have. I'm a massive fan of, but where do you see this one? This one here is my absolute favorite. So check this one out. Now, hopefully you can see on that, it's just this gribbly kind of dot pattern over on the shoulders and on the top of the head. Now, I can see that. I've been thinking recently about how we paint some of our board game stuff. You know, I want to create some plugs and things like that on getting the board games up to snuff. And using an airbrush and using a technique like that on the likes of the kind of orky creatures and stuff in Myth, for example, that would give you some beautiful, beautiful texture to the skin.
Yeah, I mean the mottle one, like you've just shown, is really, really popular. Just because of the speed, you can do a cool effect on there, and you can use it on virtually any monsters. And it adds an awesome effect.
Right, I want to talk a bit about airbrushing. We will keep you guys posted as and when the Kickstarter launches. And Brian is open to any ideas and stuff on the creature features. I think that that we have been crying out for this. Because we've been using the airbrush. We're still very much in the beginning phases of using the airbrush, and we've been using it for shading vehicles and doing stuff on buildings and doing base coats. Where I have been reluctant to use it, though, was on the kind of organic models.
Yeah, I've not seen any other stencils like those to do on organic miniatures. So definitely
having the whole creature feature range, I think it's certainly gonna open it up for me to at least experiment with it. which brings me to the discussion on airbrushing in general, right?
Yeah.
So we've been covering airbrushing now for about a year or so. We've been dipping in and out of airbrushing. And I'm now getting to the point where I can kind of more confidently talk about the steps that our viewers and stuff can take into airbrushing from my perspective as someone who wouldn't have a tutor sitting beside him all the time and is looking to the airbrush as very much a tool to try and make my hobby life easier. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, it does make things so much faster for painting generally, especially vehicles. Trying to paint large vehicles by hand is
a nightmare.
It is a nightmare.
It is, yeah.
And it's like, when you get into airbrushing, you can get into it for the artistic value. There's so much you can do with it. But even before all of that, for most of us mortals, it has a toolbox value to try and help us achieve something faster. So my kind of steps are as follows, right? First thing that I think an airbrush is great for is getting some base coats done. Okay? We found this during the preparation for the boot camps, that there was a point in the bolt action boot camp where we were trying to get a series of train carriages and trains recolored. There was just like toy stuff, but we needed to get it all recolored to a kind of German military pattern kind of color scheme. And to try and paint that by hand would have taken all day.
Yeah.
Absolutely taken all day. We then went at it with the airbrush, and the airbrush really worked well for that. But for that kind of thing, you don't need a 200-pound airbrush, to put down base coats.
No, as long as the airbrush works for what you need to do it for, doing base coats,
In fact, for that one, if you watch, I think it was on XLBS a few weeks back, I actually showed off a very, very cheap, cost-effective airbrush that actually requires no cleaning because the paint doesn't travel through the airbrush at all. It just uses a jar that has a nozzle on the jar, and you screw the jar in, and it's single action, but it puts down a nice layer of paint. So it's perfect for doing a large amount of base coating, which we're finding more and more that we have to do. And the other thing is it worked with kind of non-airbrush paints. So we were able to pull colors from the Army Painter range and some of the older Games Workshop ranges and things like that and drive it through. So that's your first step as far as I'm concerned is getting some color down on stuff.
Yeah.
But I think where people really start to get the most out of their airbrush is when they get to this stenciling and masking stage, Brian. I think this is when the magic starts to unlock. It's now a single action airbrush. I imagine is not going to be a great tool for this.
No, the single action, as you said, you're putting down quite a lot of paint generally, and with the stencil and masking in general, you want to be careful and thinly lay the paint on in a couple of stages rather than just bashing it on in one go.
Yeah.
So, and also the one you described, I mean, I haven't used it, but I imagine you have to have the pressure up quite high to get that to work.
Yes. Yeah.
Which means you may blow the paint under the stencil, or even lift the stencil with the air pressure.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's a couple of different kinds of stencil. Can you explain to me what the general types of stencil are and that people can get a hold of?
There's two sorts of stencil really. You have a self-adhesive type, which is like our HD range, and you have a freehand stencil, which is like our HS range, like you've been showing. And then within that, you have positive and negative stencils. Mm-hmm. So with a positive stencil, you're using the actual shape and you're putting that on sort of in reverse order almost. Mm-hmm. And then a negative stencil is where you're spraying through the hole. So like the ones you've got there, they're all negative stencils.
Yeah.
So you're spraying. Which camera are we looking at?
Yeah. we'll put it on here. So
you're spraying through the holes. So that's a negative stencil.
So a negative stencil, you spray through it to get to get the final shape that you want.
Yeah.
Whereas a positive stencil would be
You're putting down the actual shape itself.
Yeah.
So here you're using the hole that is the shape. The positive, you're using the actual shape itself.
and spraying the rest of the model.
Yeah.
Okay, so a really bad example of that is if I wanted red, say red flames on the wings of an Eldar craft.
Yeah.
Okay, using a positive stencil.
Yeah.
I would spray the Eldar craft yellow, then do some red shading.
Yeah.
Then put that down, and then spray over it all black,
Correct.
and then remove it, and then
Yeah.
the flames would come through. With a negative stencil, I'd spray it black.
Yeah.
And then I would try to put the stencil down and spray it. It probably wouldn't work as well with a negative stencil.
Not in the way
would
you
it?
described me.
Yeah.
Trying to put yellow and red over black is quite tricky.
Mm.
So you can do it either way, but in that example, you'd be better off using the positive shape, painting it yellow and red, sticking your flame shape on, and then spraying it black, rather than the other way around.
So it's a case of knowing the right kind of stencils and the right method of order of stenciling for the right job.
Some ways are better than others of doing it. For example, if you show one of the little grids there,
Yeah, let's show these ones off. So
you could do this pattern here by spraying through it using a negative stencil like we have here,
yeah,
or if you had a sticky ones, you could lay down all the little diamonds and do it that way round. But nobody wants to lay down hundreds of little diamonds to do that.
yeah.
So you don't do it that way, you do it the other way round, which is easier. And some of our sticky stencils we have, like the flames you mentioned, we have both sides of it. So that if you want to do it the other way around, you can. It just depends on the colour scheme and what you want to do.
Now, from there's also a slight difference in effect of the two different stenciling types. So the sticky stencils, generally, you can more closely match contours and stuff because you can take your time in how you lay it down, and you could prep a larger area of a model with that, pre-prep it and then go in and spray it.
And it's going to give you a very, very crisp edge to the design.
Mm-hmm.
On a freehand stencil, you tend to have a bit more bleed under the stencil. It'll be a softer edge to the design. Sometimes you might want that more, and that works exceptionally well for doing the organic designs where you don't want a pristine edge to your little spots on your monster.
Mm-hmm.
You want it to blend into the skin a bit more, and for flames and stuff, it works quite well for doing that as well.
Yeah.
So some things you might want a crisp edge, some things you might not. With the freehand type of stencil, you want to get the stenciling part done in one go very quickly. So use a very strong tone to go over the paint, and then you can change that with transparent paints.
Mm-hmm.
With a sticky stencil, you can spray multiple colours over that, as long as you do it thinly, and do it that way round.
Yeah.
And they're a bit easier to use because they're not going to move while you're painting it. If you move a freehand stencil while you're painting it, it looks like it's blurred and moving really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So they're a bit easier to use, but then they're not as reusable.
Yeah. You can get sticky negative stencils as well, though, can't you? It's where it's the kind of
like those.
self-adhesive.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a self-adhesive. I saw a great tip for that once, where you put down your self-adhesive stencil, okay, but sometimes you get the paint can run under it. So what he actually did was he gave it a very light coat of the actual base color first to seal it in, and then did what he wanted to do color-wise over the top of it, which I thought, because I had done some stenciling using masking tape.
Yeah.
Wasn't really stenciling; it was more masking. I was just trying to get the stripes.
Yeah, I
on
mean,
the
for
front wing
certain,
of the tank.
for just general masking stuff, you don't need a stencil. You can use masking tape or a masking film.
And what I was doing was I was using the GW trigger flamer airbrush of death. But too much paint was coming out.
Yeah.
And what was happening is that it was running underneath the masking tape, because also on a Lehman Russ it's quite gribbly as well. and it was really difficult to get a tight seal.
But with that type of airbrush, it's not really an airbrush, it's a small spray gun, but on that type of thing, you do have to have the pressure up so much higher to be able to get the paint out.
Yeah.
And the higher the pressure, the more chance you've got of making the paint go under the stencil and run along any panel lines or stuff like that.
Yeah, well, that was basically what I discovered. Was it ended up just the paint just started to run, and it was getting,
It just looked bad.
it was getting really messy, and it put me off.
The rule of thumb,
whole thing of
the
it.
rule of thumb with masking is light coats.
Yeah,
Even with our sticky stencils, if you blast the paint on too much, it's going to find a way under the stencil because it's really low tack.
yeah,
So you build it up in light coats, or like you say, you can do some of the base coat over it first to seal it. But if you're doing like gentle coats and build it up in 3 or 4 layers rather than one heavy coat, it's generally a lot better.
For you Chaos players, I think this is going to save your life, because as we've been sitting here and I've been thinking about tanks, I've been thinking about getting tanks, getting a Baneblade or something, covering it with lumpy green stuff all over the place, and then getting this mottle effect and doing patches of that over it to give me a real nurgly kind of a Baneblade. It just, it's one of those things that whenever you start to look at stenciling as part of your airbrush toolkit, it's amazing. Just the ideas start coming to you, and you start to think, "Oh, I could do that. Oh, I never thought of that. I could do that." There's absolutely no reason why you couldn't take this kind of thing here and use it to create almost like stained window effects for your dungeon crawlers and things like that. It's just the ideas all start getting really left wing. They're coming out of nowhere. So my point on this is, it's you need a dual action airbrush for this.
Definitely.
Okay. Now you could look out and pick up a dual action airbrush, relatively cheap on eBay. And do you know what? That'll work fine, provided you have good control over the paint. It's all about having that control, Brian, isn't it? It's if you pick up a cheap airbrush and you find that even with the dual action, it's still kind of like just on or off, and you've too much paint coming through or whatever.
I mean, sometimes the cheap ones just don't work very well. So sometimes it's that, which can put people off airbrushing entirely. It nearly happened to me. I bought one and it broke pretty much straight away. So
I've had that as well, and then I went the other direction and started to think, well, the only way you can do airbrushing is by spending a fortune on an airbrush. But then I realized that airbrushes are tools like everything else, and sometimes as long as you know what you're trying to do with your airbrush, you can then adjust your budget accordingly. Because some of the higher end airbrushes I found weren't great for the base coating because I couldn't get the volume of paint out quick enough.
No, they're designed for a very fine line.
Yeah.
So even when you open the pressure up fully, it's still going to be relatively small pattern.
And this is exactly what we've been discovering.
Yeah.
But for this kind of thing, if you don't have a big budget, do you know what? Maybe have a punt. Have a punt, but it's definitely dual action you want. You need something that you can turn the power on and control the nozzle, control the volume of paint that's coming from the nozzle, because as Brian has very clearly said to us, and as I have experienced, if you throw too much paint at this, it's going to look crap.
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
Not just for stenciling, but like weathering in general as well.
Yeah.
You want to be building it up subtly rather than blasting it on. You won't be able to control a single action right up close to the model. It's just going to make the paint run straight away.
And we've been sat for the last couple of days working on some airbrush work. Like obviously we've been doing that, and I've just been sat watching. There's 2 occasions where he's turned around and I've just still been staring at the monitor, and he's like, "Talk."
Yeah.
And I'm like,
it is fascinating. I really enjoyed my time last year spent with Brian filming the tutorials and stuff like that, because he makes it look so easy. He took my fear away of airbrushing, because I remember shortly after he left, I phoned Lloyd and said, "Come up to Studio One," and the pair of us sat that evening just with brown paint, weathering with an airbrush. And I was going, look how easy this is.
There's so many people I come across. I've never tried airbrushing before. I try and hand them the brush. I'm like, well, have a go. Oh no, I don't want to break it or mess something up. I'm like, this is a piece of rubbish plastic card. Have a go. I have to virtually make some people have a go. And there is a fear of using them, but you shouldn't be scared of it.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to throw it around the room or to start trying to strip it down, you're not going to be able to damage it. Just have a go.
Right. Your must-buy list, okay? Pick yourself up a compressor of some sort. Basically, you just want a compressor that will give you some control, a reasonable amount of control over your air pressures, but also give you a readout. It's always handier if you get a readout of what your air pressure is, because you can get a better feel for it.
Yeah.
We've looked at compressors. Like I've had a little electric ones, all right-ish. Then you get higher end ones where you have more control over it, but you can't see what the pressure level is. And as you get more into airbrushing, you'll want to be able to adjust pressures up and down a little bit. So I've seen recently some compressor packs in Lidl that, and sometimes you can find a fairly good compressor with a container. What do you call it?
Storage tank.
With a tank. You should have known that word. You can find them with a tank. Obviously, if the tank's too small, what the tank does is kind of even out the flow a little bit, doesn't it?
It's one thing that confuses people is they think, oh, it's got a tank on there. I can turn the compressor on, fill the tank up, and then just use what's in the tank to airbrush with for any length of time. Yeah. It's not for that. You'll get a few seconds out of it before the pressure suddenly drops.
It's more of a capacitor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good analogy. It's not for running an airbrush for any length of time to paint with.
Because if I run a small electric compressor versus one of the larger ones that we have with a tank. And remember, the size of your tank it dictates the amount of airflow. So if you want something big that you can use on terrain, you'll probably need a larger tank because you're going to be pushing.
A good quality compressor, you don't need a tank.
Yeah.
It's nice to have, but as I say, a good quality one, tank isn't vital.
The airbrush itself, you could take your chances. On something, just make sure it's dual action. With the stenciling, you don't care so much about the 3 mil or 0.2 mil or whatever.
For doing stencils and stuff, generally you're doing a base coat through a stencil or through a masking tape or whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter too much about the size of the needle, as long as you can control it and do a light coat.
Yeah.
Then you're generally fine.
Next thing on your shopping list, stencils. And I can't recommend enough the ones that Brian makes from Anarchy Models. They're robust. They'll last a long time. I particularly like the high speed ones because you can go to a range of models fairly quickly and start to add some really nice effects to them. So if you're into your Eldar, look at that there. That. Whenever that model is finished, is just going to pop on a tabletop, and and somebody looking at it is going to know they couldn't achieve that with a brush. Not looking as nice as that.
It's very difficult to get the fade out with a brush.
Yeah.
You could do it by hand if you are a master painter.
Yeah,
you could do that by hand.
But we're not, are we?
Who wants to spend?
We're only hobbyists.
Who wants to spend 6 months painting a jet bike?
So stencils, splash out. Get yourself a range of them, so as that you can experiment. I would highly recommend that you try some of the stick-on ones as well, especially the flame effects. Because let's be honest, who doesn't like adding a bit of a flame effect to their stuff? And it's nice to go through the steps of adding a flame effect. We have some tutorials on some of these as well. We should get some links in on that. Then finally, paints. Splash out on some paints. Now, there's two kinds that I'm going to recommend, and I'm going to ask you to explain the difference.
Yep.
Get yourself some airbrush paints first. We really like the Vallejo ones. The Vallejo Air range is very, very good, and it smells lovely. Honestly, it smells lovely. You will not want to leave your workspace, because you'll be sitting there going, it's so beautiful. And it doesn't get you high. It just smells lovely. It's like perfume, It's going for a night out. Airbrush it on.
When I first I bought the case, and I opened the case, I'm like, have they sprayed something nice smelling in here? What's going on?
They are literally the nicest smelling paints on the market. However, get yourself some paints, and it's something that we don't have in the studio, we have to get them, is these transparent paints, Brian, because they're where the magic really is on this kind of
for
stuff.
certain things, they're fantastic. You use them in combination with normal paints as well.
Well, what are they first off? What is a transparent paint?
Well, it's a paint that's transparent.
Yeah, well, there we go.
He's pulled that on me a couple of times.
Sorry, that's one of my normal tricks. It's similar in a way to some of the washes that some companies do. It's that kind of consistency, but there's a lot more colour in there. But it is, as you say, it's a transparent paint, and you're using that to change what's already on the model. You take a transparent paint and spray it over black, it's barely going to change. And if you were to layer layers and layers and layers on there, all it's going to be, say you're doing it with transparent blue, it will be black that's slightly blue.
Yes.
It's not going to be a blue model.
I'm wondering if I have something, because I want to show you what the ultimate effect of it is. I believe this model here used the transparency to good effect. So, it's... like, how did that kind of start out life? Actually, I might have a picture of how it started out life. You can see there.
Yeah, there you go. So we started off black base coat, then layering on a dark green onto the highlights and just picking out some of the armor. And then, as you can see on there, we've got it wasn't a white, it was kind of a greeny white.
It was a dead flesh we used.
Dead flesh, yeah.
I think we have a picture of the stencil actually being
so that's the stencil there.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier in this video, you want to get the stenciling done in one shot.
Yes.
So you want to get it on quick. You're never going to get yellow to go over that dark green.
No.
Not on its own, and not on a really nice bright yellow. You could, some of the deserty colours you might be able to, but it's still, you have to build it up.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we've gone there with dead white, and then if you go back to the other picture, we've gone there with a transparent yellow over pretty much all of the stenciled part, and then I've come on with a transparent green and followed the lines between the
diamonds.
The diamonds, where it's on that stencil you have like a little hint of scales as well as the full cutout scales, and just followed those lines. So there. We've gone 2 additional colours. Well, it looks like more colours because of the way the transparents work.
Yeah,
you layer and layer them on, and you get a different shade.
And is there any particular brand or range of transparents that we should be having a look at? I know is it Badger that do a great range of transparents? I hear people talk about them as well.
I've not used those. What I was using for these was Vallejo again.
Yeah.
It's the Vallejo inks. Now they call that an ink, but it's not the same as you would buy from an art shop that you put in a pen. Yeah. It's a different consistency. It's
is it part of the Vallejo Air range?
No, it's the game ink.
Game ink.
So, and I was using that as a transparent paint. There are other transparent paints around.
Yeah.
I know Tamiya do some, but they're very smelly.
Yeah.
Compared to acrylic. As I say, there are others out there, so try them.
Yeah.
But the Vallejo ones are for a transparent, they are very strongly coloured, so you can get it done quite quickly. But experiment with them. The transparent paints are awesome. We're just tinting what's already there, doing some shading. Or in combination with stencils or whatever else you want to do.
Yeah. Well, guys, there you have it. Brian's Kickstarter's kicking off any time now. If you have suggestions for the creature features, post them below in the comments. Brian will be in the comments having a hunt around and see what's possible. I've been plaguing him with ideas on this, going, oh, you need to do this, you need to do this. But definitely, anything you have, put it in the comments below. Brian, look, it's been a pleasure having you, mate. Thank you very much. We're always learning when you're in the studio. So yeah, it's simple. Go get your pocket money. Go get your compressor, your airbrush, buy some stencils, and then go and pick up some cool paints. But make sure you get some of them kind of transparent paints, because it's just like magic. It's just like magic coming out of the end of your airbrush.
If you don't mind, one more thing, talking about paints. People tend to have problems if you try and mix and match brands of paints and thinner and cleaner. So no matter what paints you're using, if they do their own thinner and cleaner, so like Vallejo do their own thinner and cleaner, it all works so much better together than if you try and mix and match. We had somebody try and use a different brand of cleaner with the Vallejo paints, and he just didn't touch it.
Yeah, it just wouldn't take it off.
No, dry paint was on there, and it was just not coming off. It's got some Vallejo cleaner, 2-week old paint, and just wiped it off.
Yeah.
So always try and match stuff together, and use the correct thinner and cleaner. Some people will think that, it says airbrush cleaner, I can use that for anything.
Yeah.
And they'll try and clean enamels with it, or they'll try and clean alclad with it, and it's not going to work. You have to have the right stuff, the right paint as well.
And in the meantime, I'm going to get on the blower to Army Painter and say, go on, let's get an airbrush range so as we can match it to all of the primers and everything. All right, guys. Brian, been a pleasure having you. We'll be right back after we tell you about some hubs.
Become a general of mighty armies at the Kings of War Hub. Take command of elves, dwarves and orcs in this game of masked fantasy combat on beastsofwar.com. From Viking halls to the cities of the future, terrain buffs will love our foreground hub. Watch gaming tables of all genres come to life at beastsofwar.com.
Okay, so airbrushing.
Yeah.
Gotta love it.
That stuff looks really nice.
Yeah,
I'm really amazed at how much it changes the miniature.
It is very
on.
cool. For me, what I would love is an innovation. Somebody to do an innovation of a self-cleaning airbrush. That would be innovative, wouldn't it?
They tried to do that in Vietnam with a self-cleaning rifle, and it didn't work.
Oh, well, you see, this is the thing. We talk about the barriers to airbrushing, and the first is the whole fear thing. But together we're gradually getting over it. The second is the being arsedness to actually clean your airbrush. So a self-cleaning airbrush would be the way to go.
The hurdle I have to get past is turning to John and saying, John, can you teach me to airbrush? Yeah, sure. 2 hours later, can I have a go? No.
Anyway, on topics of innovation, we may not have the self-cleaning airbrush, but we do have self-rolling dice. Our other Kickstarter that we want to getting chat to you before the end of the show
have a look
is
at this thing.
This one here. Right, it's called Bots Battleground. You're actually
getting a game with
contributing to a game. Okay,
yeah, but it comes with these self-rolling dice.
Yeah, so it's a dice with a vibration motor, a rechargeable battery which is recharged wirelessly.
Yeah,
it's
well,
got a tilt sensor,
exactly
a microphone, and 3 LEDs on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not sure if it's exactly wirelessly, because for the actual game, the charger you can see in the bottom corner here. They actually
goes on the 3 dot,
and then the 3 dot is your connection point.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, and then the actual charging station becomes the arena where you throw the dice into to let them roll and do their stuff in the game.
I thought that they had used that kind of induction charging kind of a thing going.
I don't know if you can get it that small yet.
Oral Beats with brushes
problem.
They did. Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
But you see, I just have images of Warren just making it like magic, going, my dice.
Do you know what induction charges? The BB-8 that you guys were talking about?
The BB-8 does induction charge. Basically, what these dice do is you click your finger, and they self-roll.
Yeah,
it sounds totally pointless, really, doesn't it?
Or you clap your hands, or you hit the table, or you actually roll them, and the strike from rolling them makes enough to actually get them rolling.
They light up. So they're not pointless. They light up.
They light up. Yeah. So it's basically a game of I'm facing off against you.
Yeah.
I give my dice the clap. They roll over. What are you looking at me like that for? What kind of face is that? So I roll over. Okay. What if one of the dice gets cocked? Do I have to give it the clap again to try and get it to uncock? And, it's like. Anyway, you can see
Can I
where
let
this is
one
going.
slide, everybody?
You can see where this one's going.
Yeah.
What I actually want to know, on a more serious note,
Yeah.
it's got a tilt sensor in there,
Yeah.
okay? Which is basically probably some kind of mercury switch. Which means a few years ago we wouldn't have been allowed them here in Northern Ireland because mercury switches were banned.
Yes.
You weren't
they
allowed
were.
devices with mercury switches because they could be used to make bombs.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
The piece of history I didn't know.
Yeah, in your own country, and you didn't know that. So I would imagine that there's going to be import restrictions on some countries for anything with a mercury switch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
However, here's where this gets interesting. Forget the whole giving your dice the clap type thing. Let's imagine that you actually roll these dice normally,
Yeah.
okay? And it can connect wirelessly, because you can connect wirelessly to these dice to program them.
they have an
You
app.
have different programs.
Yeah.
But imagine you're playing a game, okay, on your tabletop, okay, and you're able to, on your phone, go this unit versus this unit, combat, roll the dice,
Yeah.
and they know what number they're on,
Yeah.
and communicate it back, and it goes success.
You know what I would like it for then? D&D.
Uh-huh.
Because I remember game after game after game of people trying to remember, okay, this bonus, this bonus, this bonus, plus that roll. Instead of just having an app going, okay, using this ability, roll, success, failure.
Yeah, I think
that mathematics.
I think we are getting to the stage where technically now we can overcome a lot of the hurdles that Exilis is, still a big milestone in our industry when it was the first tabletop war game that tried to do everything on the computer.
Yeah.
Now, what it enabled, right, was so many more variables. You could do hundreds of thousands of variables to add to the realism of the calculations and stuff like that there. But what it couldn't do was give you the realism of playing a tabletop game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was that sort of, okay, I've rolled my dice, here's the result. Okay, computer closes curtains.
Yes,
Not telling you what's going on here.
It was
Opens curtains.
It was
Here's what happened.
abstraction too far. It became too abstract.
Yeah.
But this and with the
works more.
recognition, augmented reality and stuff,
Yeah.
we are now starting to get to some very interesting technological
Yeah.
points.
Well, it'd be nice to see if they actually pair this up with maybe something like the HoloLens as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We'll see what
The
happens.
thing is that a lot of the innovations coming through are gaming aids rather than a complete game like Exilis was trying to be.
Mm-hmm.
So like with those dice, if you can program them.
Well,
and
this
the
is it.
programming
You have a
expands.
combination of that
Yeah.
paired up with Golem Arcana.
Yes.
Okay, and you could find yourself, people love the tactics and the strategy and stuff like that. What we don't love is having to look up charts.
Yeah.
But it's charts that gives a real sense of realism to a combat of this unit versus this unit.
would you-
We are all trying to get rid of charts because charts are not very user friendly from a gaming perspective. However, if you have the likes of this technology in there, you can keep that realism. You're still rolling the dice. The only thing is, you don't really know. There's that whole anticipation. It removes the anticipation, which is not a good thing because
I don't know,
as
because
gamers,
I don't know. You're still physically
You're still
rolling,
rolling
the
the
dice.
dice.
no,
It's
but
still doing
But it's just
something.
doing an action. What you're missing is I need fours. Because if you're playing something like this, you'll not really know what you need. You'll just know you need to roll this many dice.
Well, I don't know. If you program the app to tell you what you need beforehand, then you're rolling it saying, "Come on, fours, come on."
Yeah, I don't know. It is interesting. Go and check it out.
It's a very cool little
It's
thing.
called Bots Battleground Boogie
Yeah.
Dice Kickstarter. And it's worth checking out
It's quirky.
just to see them give the dice the clap and them all rolling around. So okay, right. Next up we have a board game.
Yes, I believe this one caught your eye, John.
Yeah.
Argo. I believe.
Argo. You've went and looked at the gameplay of it.
Yeah, whereas you read through the Kickstarter.
I read through the Kickstarter, and who do you want to start with? You want gameplay?
We'll
or-
start with you.
Right,
Start with
okay.
you because you know the Kickstarter.
Right. So these guys are trying to make their board game. They're getting it. They're working on getting it funded.
Yeah.
They state in part of the Kickstarter that they don't want to go down the miniatures line.
Yeah.
Right.
What makes that interesting to me, and what you'll probably find interesting as well, is the first line of that where they say we don't want to go down the miniatures line is because it's too high pressure and too high stress.
Yeah.
So they're going to go with standees
They're
and
going
stuff
with
like that.
standees. The other thing they're not talking about is stretch goals yet. They want to have the game funded before they start mentioning stretch goals, once it starts to overfund. But the miniatures one, I can totally understand because of the amount of Kickstarters we see coming through
That struggle
because
of the miniatures aspect.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's then adding miniatures. By saying, okay, we're now funded, we're adding brand new minis.
Yeah.
It's another level of, okay, I now need to design this miniature, I now need to cast this miniature, I now need to actually get this out to you in packaging.
I mean, what was the last game that we played in here that had standees? Incursion?
Yeah, maybe
Possibly,
Incursion,
possibly.
yeah. That's some time ago now.
And it certainly feels like a lot of people have tried to kill off standees in board games and that because they obviously want to go down the miniatures line.
Well, I mean, I don't know, because standees have become more of just, okay, I'll make my doors out of standees. I have beautiful minis, but my doors and stuff will be out of standees.
Right, okay, I'm going to say something, but I want to qualify what I'm about to say.
Okay.
First and foremost, it's all about the quality of the game.
Right.
If the game is fabulous, okay, then the components themselves matter to a lesser extent.
Yep.
Good games will always bubble to the top.
Agreed.
You look at the likes of Ticket to Ride,
Yep. Lords of Waterdeep.
Twilight.
You've also got Lords of Waterdeep, Catan.
Yeah.
Even simple things. There's one we played.
Well, anyway, the components themselves, become less important because the game itself is really good.
Yeah.
I'm going to give us the benefit of the doubt that it is really good. However, standees suck. Standees really suck. If you're going to have a game where you are that thing moving around, standees, they're of a time that is gone. It's
I don't know.
not a fan of standees really. I am a fan of them taking the stance though, and of understanding their strengths. Okay, so while I may not be a fan of standees, that doesn't matter. If the game is fabulous, the game is fabulous.
Well, I've actually
I have a good degree of admiration of them actually taking the stance to say, this is about the delivery of a game that we can actually deliver. I'll be interested to play this and see how it turns out.
The actual game itself, on the Kickstarter, they have a little video just showing how the mechanics work.
Yeah.
And the mechanics themselves, they're reasonably easy to play with. You're not going to be overloaded and looking at it going, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So the whole idea is you're on Space Station Argos. Your mission, to get the hell out because it's been invaded by aliens who are trying to eat your brain.
All right, so it hasn't been invaded by store staff who are bringing things down from the warehouse to pass over the counter. You mean Space Station Argo?
Argo, sorry.
Argos.
I misspoke.
For any of our American viewers, check out argos.co.uk. You'll get an idea of what I'm talking about.
It's been one of those days, everybody.
Yeah, Space Station Argo then. Okay.
Yeah. The whole idea is you're basically activating your standee, moving them about, but the problem is sometimes there isn't space for everybody in the tile you're moving into, so you can start to push people away and into aliens to actually do damage to the opposing players. But if you do that too much, the aliens will beat everybody because they've killed enough people.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is you're trying to get to your shuttle, get out with as many of your guys as you can, while screwing everyone else over on the way.
Well, there you have it. Right, guys. That wraps it up for the show. Go and check out Space Station Argos.
I'm never going to live this down. I'm going to go to events and people are going to go
with new click and collect.
It's actually, I
Argos,
believe
Argos.
this is made by a couple of well-known
It is.
board gamers, Bruno Faiduti and Sergei Leggett.
Yes.
Leggett.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't know whether the T is silent
Pronunciation.
or not. Yeah. Guys, look, thank you so much for watching. Remember that tomorrow morning we have the XLBS version of the show. It's a whole brand new show, basically. And we are going to be talking about the Team Yankee Boot Camp 27th of November.
Oh, right. Whoa. You've actually said we're having one?
Oh, yeah, we are. So if you want to get in on that, come across and join backstage. Tomorrow morning we will be putting up the booking form, and it will be on a first come, first served basis on that one. So
remember, two spaces are down.
Two spaces are down already.
Yeah,
so.
and the backstagers are getting the first bite.
Yep. So, guys, look, thank you so much for joining us. Thank to everybody that was on the show today. Great one. Happy gaming. See you next week.
Humanity has been driven from Earth, but now it's time to take it back. Join the Reconquest and fight the Scourge on the Drop Zone Commander Hub at beastsofwar.com. Flames of War brings you the battles of World War II in epic 15mm scale. Go to the hub on beastsofwar.com to find news, tactics, and tutorials about the game.